If you're new to selling on eBay and you want to learn what are the best items to be selling on the platform, well, you're in the right place, because in today's video, we're going to be talking through the top 10 best selling items on eBay. Now, I've been selling on eBay full time for the last 5 years, and I've sold every single one of the items that we're going to be talking about in this video today. Over 14,000 sales in my store. So these items I've sold hundreds of times over, and they are proven winners. Now, sports jerseys are fantastic. If you're looking for the player issued stuff, player issued jerseys generally have a GPS pouch on the back of them. Now, this could be any form of sport as well. I do need to probably say that as well. This could be AFL, NRL, soccer, NFL, you name it. Any sporting code, any jersey is going to be a proven winner for you. So genuine tags is what you want to be looking for, because there are a lot of fakes out there. I've got an image here of a on-field team gear AFL tag. Now, that's a really good representation of an AFL tag that is always going to be genuine. You'll often find cheap Bali knockoffs where they don't have these tags on the items, and that's when you run into some issues trying to sell them on eBay. But you'll see here, there's a player issued jersey selling for $250 from the New Zealand Warriors in the rugby league. And then over here, we've got an AFL jersey, an Australian football jersey selling for $50, $40 plus $10 in postage. So it's pretty common to be able to sell these sorts of items for $40, $50 odd dollars. Now, the limitations, they're tough for inexperienced sellers to spot the difference between those real ones and the fake ones. So you do need to spend a bit of time looking into ultimately retail products, like going onto retail stores, checking the tags on the modern day stuff, and just seeing if you're getting some variance or some similarities with what you're looking at. You'll also find that from a sense of selling them, that people are emotionally invested. They are emotionally invested into their sports team. Therefore, the sell-through rate of these jerseys is typically higher than the typically saturated, slower selling categories that is clothing. Clothing is typically a slow selling category on eBay, but these sports jerseys generally uptick. The next one that I've got for you is children's books. Now, a couple of examples of some really good children's books to be looking for is Harry Potter, Goosebumps, and Del Toro Quest. I've got 3 examples of some ridiculous price points right here for you to have a look at. If you can get the full set of the original vintage Goosebump books, there are 62 to collect. It sells for over $700, which is pretty nuts. I think book number 60 is one of the rarest books to find out of that collection. It sells individually for about $50 or $60. The Harry Potter book sets, there's so many different variances when it comes to books, first editions, hardcovers, paperbacks. But generally speaking, you can get a good amount if you're selling a full complete set of Harry Potter's book number 1 through to number 7. So that's always been one that I've been able to sell pretty commonly, and you can typically find them pretty commonly and easily as well. And then Del Toro Quest. There are 3 series of the Del Toro Quest series. There's a couple of quiz books as well along with it. I've put them all into this comp right here, and it sold for $180 or $175, $150 plus postage. So again, this is tough for inexperienced sellers in the sense that you generally have to sell books in bundles, and then that costs you a lot of money to go ahead and ship the item off. So that is the limitation. It's great to sell. They do sell really well. And children's books are a great category to sell because, one, kids are always reading. I mean, some adults do, some adults don't, but kids are always needing to read books. So that's why the kids book niche sells over really, really well on eBay. But secondly, just books at retail price points are super expensive. There's really crazy price points if you go into a bookstore and have a look at these books that you're selling on eBay to what they're worth if they're in brand new condition. That's why you can still get some pretty decent price points on eBay in used condition because they're just so expensive in retail stores. Now, before we jump into the next item, I wanted to speak to you guys about Flipped It, because we have a special 10% off offer for anybody that watches this YouTube channel. Flipped It is basically an online software that you can have all of your eBay data imported into Flipped It, and it will give you a look at your profitability of your eBay business. So if you're unsure right now about where your numbers sit, how profitable are you, well, using Flipped It is going to be a perfect solution, because the import function takes a matter of seconds, and all you need to do is add in your cost of goods and your postage costs. And then from there, you're going to get a great look at how much money you're actually making. All of those hidden costs you can add in off your bank statement as well to get a really nice, well-rounded look at the data. So if you are interested, there is that 10% off offer running with the Flipped It 10 coupon code that you can add to the description, but go and check it out. You've got a 7-day free trial, completely risk-free, and I think you're going to get a lot of value out of it. Coming in at number 8, I have got running shoes. Now, shoes in general are okay to sell, but I think I often have the best success when it comes to running shoes. Now, think about all the major brands when it comes to running shoes because they all sell really well on eBay. So we've got Asics, Nike, OnCloud, Adidas. Ultra running shoes is a big one over in America that I've sold a lot of here in Australia, a bit of an unknown one for the people selling here in Australia, and New Balance as well typically does well. That's not limited to any other great running shoe brand that's out there that I haven't mentioned, Saucony, Mizuno, all of these other brands. But you'll see some examples here, $59.95 plus $11 for a pair of OnClouds. You've got a pair of Ultra running shoes over there selling for about $95 with postage. And then the shoe that I have sold the very most number of sales of in the shoe category over 5 years of selling on eBay is the Asics Gel Kayano. Very typically getting about $50 for a Kayano, so definitely look out for that one. So some limitations to the shoe category is size is super important. Bigger is better. If you can be finding a men's shoe size from anywhere between a 9 to a 13 or a 14, you're going to be in the sweet spot. Women's, it's a little bit less in that. It's probably an 8 through to a 10 or 11. Typically does pretty well in the women's shoe sizing, but if you're finding the size 4, 5, and 6s, the sell-through rate really does plummet. So why do the shoes sell well? Well, there's a running culture for shoes, running shoes. There's a culture for running in general. So people love to collect shoes. That is a collecting category, running shoes, believe it or not. And they're often used as a comfy work shoe as well. So I haven't spoken about it yet, but when it comes to shoes and running shoes as well, I like to buy black shoes as much as possible. They're often not as dirty in appearance and they're often very acceptable to be worn in the workplace. So a lot of people will buy really nice comfy running shoes. One brand that I haven't spoken about is Hoka. Hoka is a fantastic running shoe brand to work in. A lot of people will buy the shoes and they'll go to work in them. So they go searching for them on eBay. Number 7 is mobile phones. I haven't sold as many of mobile phones out there. I just haven't been looking for the mobile phones. That's the only reason why I haven't sold very many. But these are a fantastic category to be diving into and learning about. Apple, Samsung, Motorola, the 3 major brands that are out there are all selling really well on eBay. So $400 on a Samsung Galaxy X23. We've got a Motorola Moto G62 5G, $189. And then a used Apple iPhone 11 Pro. They're bringing out new Apple iPhones all the time, but all of the old ones still sell really well. $290 plus $11 in postage. So you can sell these very, very consistently and very, very quickly. Why they sell well is the fact that they do have a great sell-through rate because everybody needs a mobile phone. So that's why they always sell well. Some limitations to the category though, you do need to clean the data before you're selling. So just wipe all of that data, make sure that there's no data on the phone before you go and sell it. And you also need to ensure that the phone isn't locked to a certain network. That can be something that you can run into issues on when you go to sell it on eBay if it is locked to a certain network. So just make sure that it isn't before you go ahead and source one, and then you'll be pretty safe. The next one is at number 6, cameras. Cameras is a fantastic category to be selling in the sense of sell-through rate, desirability. The collector's market is what eBay is, and cameras fall into that collector's market really, really well. So Sony, Nikon, Canon, Fujifilm, Panasonic, all fantastic brands. Interesting one with the cameras is you can often sell the lenses separately to the body of the camera. That's the way I typically like to sell my cameras is I break down the lens and then I have 2 different listings. You generally get more money selling them if they're split into 2 than selling them as one whole bundle. But the little compact digital cameras that you can see here on the Sony CyberShot DSC S950 selling for $150. A very small item to ship off as well in the mail. It doesn't cost you too much to ship. We've got a body only selling for $800, a used Nikon D8110, or 810 I should say, and then a Canon EOS 700D selling for $300, and that's got the charger and the batteries and the memory cards along with it as well. So a really cool item to be going out there and finding on Facebook Marketplace. You do need to do a thorough amount of testings. That's the only limitations. It often has small damage as well that's unseen. That's a really tricky one when it comes to cameras. You might have a crack on the inside of the lens that you can't quite see, and the person doesn't really give you that information, and then you go on to sell it, and then the buyer obviously is disappointed because there's a crack that you didn't know about. So you can run into some small issues with regards to those sorts of things. So also the limitation is they're quite expensive to purchase. You're not going to get that camera body that's sold for $800 for anything less than a couple of $100 if you're lucky. So you are going to need to have some cash on hand when you're selling the cameras because they are going to be costing a bit to get up front. But why they sell well, there's actually, like I said, a huge collector's market for the category. Pokemon cards is the next one. Vintage and modern sell really, really well. $300 on a Charizard there. That is a graded Charizard. You've got a Chansey, which is a shadowless Chansey, selling for $82. And then you've got more of the modern stuff, a $685 card on the Destiny Rivals Team Rocket's Mewtwo, selling as well. So I really need to harp on this. The limitations to the Pokemon cards. There is a heavy learning curve with Pokemon. There is so much to learn. There are so many variances of Pokemon cards, and there's a lot of fake cards and a lot of really worthless cards that are out there. And then you get into the new world of going and grading those cards, and then the values of the cards increase because they've been graded either highly or poorly. So there's just a lot of different nuances to Pokemon. That's the only reason I've put it in at 5th spot. Is because of the limitations that come along with the Pokemon cards. But the reason why they sell is the Pokemon card market is booming right now in 2025. Absolutely booming. So many people wanting cards, whether they be vintage or modern. So any card that you have is going to do well. Number 4, we have DVDs, VCRs, and Blu-ray players coming in at the 4th spot. I have sold so many of these things and I look for them all the time, especially at flea markets, because I'm often getting them at a cheaper price. So Panasonic, Sony, Pioneer, JVC, all really good brands to be going out there and hunting for. You've got a Sony 4K Ultra selling for $203 there. You've got some small DVD JVC players going for about $70, which is still pretty cool. And then you've got a Panasonic NV SD220 down the bottom there, selling for $80 plus 20 postage. So you can often sell the DVD VCR combo players. I've spoken about them before. They can sell upwards of $300, $400, $500. I've sold one for $700 only a couple of weeks ago. So this is a great category to be paying attention to. However, you do need thorough testing to make sure that they definitely work. And they are, again, costly to purchase. Some of the time costly to purchase. You can often pick them up cheap because people don't assume there's any value in them because they're old pieces of technology. But your costs do come into it when you have to ship the item off because they're large, they're big, and they're bulky. Now, the reason why they sell is that you can't buy them in retail. They sell well for parts only. So if you find that when you do your testing they don't work, you can still sell them really well parts only. So that's great. It means everything that you buy you can sell. So you don't need to worry about it. High average sale price product and a really high sell-through rate product. They turn over really, really quickly on eBay. So that's why it's made 4th spot. Number 3 is the video game consoles. Now this could be any form of console. It could be your handheld Game Boys. It could be your PlayStation, Xbox, GameCube, or Nintendo. Doesn't matter what it is, it's going to sell really, really well if it's a video game console. So this is a great one. One that I really highly encourage you guys simply go seeking out on places like Facebook Marketplace, flea markets, garage sales, you name it. Maybe you've got one lying around the house. PlayStation's selling for over $200. Nintendo GameCube's around that $100 to $200 price point. $180 on an Xbox 360. So I like to try and buy video game bundled lots and their consoles and then split them up a bit like the camera lens and the camera body. I'll go ahead and I list up the consoles on their own, and then I list up all of the video games either in a bulk lot bundle or individual game listings if they're really expensive. So there's a good way to break it up and get the maximum value for the purchases that you make in this category. Some limitations, again, a bit like the DVD VCR combo players, super thorough testing required on these devices, and they are super costly to ship off. So if you're an inexperienced seller, it might cost you $20, $30 to ship them off. So you've got to take that into account when you're going to go ahead and buy the item. But again, bit like the DVD players, they do sell really well for parts only as well. They don't sell for as much, but they definitely still turn over. People are able to jump in and collect them and make sure they fix them up and get them in working order, and then they go on to sell them. So you can facilitate those buyers and sell them for parts only console, and they'll still pick it up. It's got a high average sale price, as you saw with those comps, and again, it's in 3rd place because it sells quick. Anything that sells quick for a high ASP is a really good product to sell, and this is lightning fast on eBay. Coming in at number 2 is DVDs. Now this for a long time over my 5 years was my number 1 selling category. It has been surpassed, therefore I've put it into 2nd spot on this list, but number 1 will be coming up, and it's a category you need to be looking for, but this is as well. DVDs, horror DVDs do really well. Kids DVDs, children's DVDs, they do great, but the thing you need to be looking for in this category is your TV show complete series DVDs. Now, I've said DVDs here, but Blu-rays are equally as good. You can go out looking for complete series sets of DVDs, and Blu-rays. They'll both sell really, really well. So the Ultimate Halloween Collection, Halloween's movies 1 to 5, the Jamie Lee Carpenter old Halloween sets, selling for $80. The Magician, I've thrown this one in here as a comp for you, a rare DVD title. It's a movie. It sells for $150 if you can find it. And then I've got a brand new copy of Baywatch that was there for $200. Baywatch is a big series, sells tremendously well on eBay. So some limitations to the DVD category is there's a lot of searching. You're going to have to go into thrift stores and flea markets and really dig through a lot of cheap DVDs that won't be worth a lot of money, but every now and again you do pluck out a really great item that does go on to sell for some good money. So it's hard to find the good ones. You do need to sift through a lot of the cheap ones, and you've got to check for scratches predominantly on the children's DVDs. I don't typically see too many scratches when it comes to the more, I guess, adult type DVDs and Blu-rays, but the children's do get scratched around with the kids playing with them, so you've got to look out for that limitation. Why they sell really well, believe it or not, I didn't know this a couple of years ago when I first started selling, but there's a huge collector's market yet again. You'll have noticed why they sell well for most of the categories that we're talking about in this video is because there's a collector's market out there. So selling to collectors on eBay is the way you win on eBay. Picking products that there's a collector's market for, and these all have great collector's markets. It's a really expensive retail price. It's a bit like the books that we were talking about before. If you go into JB Hi-Fi, a local electronics store here in Australia, they're really expensive. That Baywatch set might be selling for $300 at JB Hi-Fi. You can't also buy a lot of movies that are old in retail stores. So they do still sell them. They're slowly phasing them out, but you can't buy them in retail. So therefore the price jacks up on places like eBay and pre-owned condition. And a lot of collectors look at the physicality of holding a physical product of the DVD, and they see that as trumping streaming services, because streaming services pull off shows all the time, and people just want them in their collection on their bookcase. So that's why they're still buying the physical media of a DVD. So please make sure that you're looking out for those. Number one spot though is video games, guys, and I've literally written there any of them. That's the beauty of this category. You literally can't lose when you buy video games, because there's so many different ways to break it down and still be able to sell it and make a profit on it. So you can go out and source any video game you like and you're going to do well. So there's one Kuhn here selling for $1,228. I'm just putting the Hail Mary items up for some pretty cool comps for you to be able to see. Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, that one was selling for $449. And then we've got the Blitz, the League 2, that was selling for $195. I've actually never found that one. I was pretty interested to see it. But yeah, the limitations, there are none when it comes to video games. So if you buy a big bundle of them, I break it up on a $20 price point. If it sells for over $20, it's an individual listing. If it sells for less than $20, it becomes $4 and it goes into a big, large allotment, and we sell them off as a big lot for $4 each. So that's the way, and that's the reason why you can buy any video game in a big lot bundle and still be able to sell all of them. You can't do that with DVDs, and that's why DVDs have fallen to the number 2 spot. Why they sell well, I don't need to say it. Big collector's market for it, high sell-through rate, great average sale price when you do it correctly, and it's a very, very easy item to ship off in the mail. So they are my 10 categories, guys. I really think you should focus on all 10 of them because they all sell really well for me. Over the last 5 years, I've had great success in those categories. And if you've missed this video right here, it's a bit more advice on selling on eBay that I think is going to be really, really helpful for you moving forward. So thanks for being here for this one. We'll see you soon.